Onegaishimasu. I hope everyone is good. I will read Shokushu number 21 for you. Setsudo. There is no selfish person who fulfills the way of the universe. If you awaken to the principles and way of the universe, you are given the responsibility from the universe to share them throughout the world. Excuse me. Do not say that you don't have the strength to help people. If you have this experience one day, you are already a teacher for that experience. The world is full of people who are lost and are suffering from an unhealthy mind. Let us share this awakening with others with all our hearts. So I want to ask you, what is this responsibility that it speaks of? It says, you're given the responsibility to share the principles that you have learned, that you have awakened to, with the world. How do you share? How do we share our principles with the world? Most of us think about it as teaching, right? So it says even in here, if you learn something today, you're a teacher for that thing tomorrow. Even that word is in there. So we think, oh, I know something, now I am teacher. Maybe just for this one thing, but I am teacher. I think that's a big mistake. I think that's not what Doi Sensei means. We all know how difficult it is to tell someone else what it is we feel they should know. We all like to share, and of course we attempt to share constantly, but always, it doesn't always turn out the way we thought it should. That's because we're not actually teaching the principle. We might be saying the right thing, but the fact that we're saying it may be the wrong thing. It may not be the wrong thing, it may be the wrong time, it may be the wrong place. It may be just inappropriate altogether with that particular person. The way that we share the principles with the world, once we have learned the meaning of them, is they become a part of our life. They're then what we are. And then when we're with somebody, even saying nothing at all, we're sharing the principles. The principles are a way of being. They're not a way of talking. Okay, that's the introduction. We'll do some key breathing, and then I'll come back to the subject of Otomo. All right, Otomo. We have been discussing Otomo lately. When we think of Otomo, we usually think of, and I've been discussing it as, the person that is assigned by the teacher to take care of the teacher, usually when there's a seminar, during a seminar, or when traveling for seminars, right? This is what we think of as Otomo, the support guy that's going to take care of the sensei. And that usually we describe many duties and awareness training that we have to work on to be Otomo. It's not just carrying the bags. It's not just organizing the travel. It's not just making appointments at various restaurants and museums and so forth, interesting things to do. And it's not just making sure the seminar tools and hosts, everything is right. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like Otomo is. But I have to say that that's the very, very least of it. It includes those things, yes. Sometimes, some others, other times. I often have a student that comes to me and says, Sensei, I would like to train Otomo. Sometimes even, it's usually a male, but sometimes a female asks me, I would like to train Otomo, because females are generally not assigned the formal Otomo duties because they involve helping the sensei change clothes. And of course, you can't do that. It's not appropriate. So, although we have had many occasions when females practice Otomo, but just didn't do that part. But whenever a person, male or female, comes to me and asks me, Sensei, I would really like an opportunity to practice Otomo, then I know they don't understand anything about Otomo. And that is understandable because they never did it before. I think I told you that little story about Tracy Reasoner Sensei said, you know, his students would like to, he felt that it was time for them to start training. And I said, yes, well, please let them start training now. Let them begin now. So what does that mean? See, we're brought up that to spend our whole lives, every moment of our lives, feeding our own needs, feeding our own desires, escaping from our own fears and anxieties. The practice of Otomo, the whole idea of Otomo is service to others. So everybody can practice it at every moment, whether you're male or female, old or young, wise or not, doesn't matter. What if you decide today, all right, I'm going to start practicing Otomo now. And then whenever you're around another person, you're their Otomo. And if you're in a room at the dojo, for instance, full of 20 people or 30 people, or at a party with 20 or 30 people, you are the Otomo. See, people think, no, we just have to be Otomo for one person, the sensei. No. Yes, you do. Everyone in the room, not just the person that's assigned to be Otomo, but everyone in the room is Otomo for sensei. But guess what? You, each one of you, are also responsible to serve or be Otomo for everyone else in the room. If you're not doing that, then you don't understand Otomo. And you really have no business asking to be Otomo when you're not practicing it already and you're surrounded by the opportunity. I've told you again and again that Suzuki Sensei's message to me was why I have to do Otomo Sensei so much. It's very difficult. He said, yes, it's very difficult because you don't understand. And as long as you don't understand, you can never be a teacher of others. Because you're not doing what I read in the key sayings this morning. That's not setsudo. Telling people teaching people form and telling them what they should be doing is not Otomo, is not service, is not support. Before you can become an instructor, you have to understand what an instructor is doing. He is supporting everyone. He is Otomo for everyone. He is following everyone, listening to everyone, being aware of everyone's requirements. It doesn't mean he's feeding every requirement, but he's well aware of them. And this you can only learn to do by listening. We look around next time you come to a dojo party, look around the dojo at the quiet people that are just observing. Likely those are the people that are serving. The ones that are doing all the talking, maybe not serving so much. When you look in the dojo and you're training with people, and do you notice that you're always talking to them when you're training with them, your partner? Or do you notice that they're always talking to you and you're very quiet? I'm not saying that it's just, I'm not saying you should be quiet. That's not what I'm saying. But I want you to notice what service is, what support is, what taking care of the rest of the world is. You know, that's the point of all of our Aikido training. That's what we're practicing, how to care for others instead of for ourselves. That's why the teachers, Tohei Sensei, Suzuki Sensei, Shiner Sensei, myself, that's why we emphasize Otomo so strongly, because it's the very point of the practice. Not that you should always be assigned to be Otomo. No. If you are, good for you. But what you should be doing, what you want to be doing, is practicing all the time. Practicing taking care of others all the time. So I have a really short story that told to me by Ken MacLeod, who is a Tibetan Buddhist teacher on the West Coast. He said that, I think he didn't tell me this, I think I read it that he wrote it. But anyway, he said he had a good friend who was a female nun, Buddhist nun, and she was in fact the abbot of this monastery. And she had a husband and a small son. And one time she became enamored of some other man and had an affair with this man. And she got caught. And because she got caught, she lost her husband, she lost her son, and she lost her position as abbot of the monastery. She was demoted to just another monk or nun. So she was good friends with my friend Ken MacLeod. So she called him. She was really down. She had felt destroyed. And he came to visit her, and he said, "Why don't we take a walk?" So they took a walk together, and he said, so tell me, what's the problem? And so she blurted out the whole story of what had happened to her. And she said, I'm bereft, I'm destroyed. My life is completely over. What can I do? And he said, would you like to take a drive with me in the car? Okay. So they drove down to the Santa Monica Pier and parked the car. And he said, come with me. And they walked out on the dock on this big pier. And I don't know if you know, but on this, sometimes the fishermen fish with live bait. So there's these pots where you can buy these little minnows, these little like sardines to use for bait. They're live and they're swimming around. So he told her, go buy some of those live baits. So she bought a little plastic bag full of water and little minnows swimming around in her bag. And he said, okay, come with me. And they walked back from the pier and down onto the beach. And he said, I want you to take the fish over to the ocean and release them back into the ocean. And she did. And she came back to him and she said, thank you. I understand. Sometimes it's just something really simple. When we're feeling really down or really we've made some kind of bad mistake and we're feeling selfishly sorry for ourselves, the good thing to do is always to try to find somebody you can help, somebody else you can do a kindness for. Well, this is a principle. If you can see into what I'm telling you, this is the principle of non-dissension. This is non-fighting mind. This is a plus mind. This is Tohei Sensei's principles, mind and body unified. This is living, serving, practicing Otomo and serving true Otomo. This is Tohei Sensei's teaching. I know that right now, we don't have the opportunity, perhaps, to see a lot of people, particularly in your dojo, because probably you're not training in your dojo yet. But soon we will be training again. We're talking about opening some classes soon, not quite yet, but soon. We'll have to be very careful so that we're serving everyone and their concerns and their needs. And we're not just saying, okay, come to the dojo, we're going to start training. No, we have to follow certain procedures. So the world is going to be a little bit different, at least for a while, than the way we're used to. And what we want to do as this is unfolding is care for each other. Of course, you've had the chance, if you live with someone over the last 2 months, to be unselfish and caring with each of them. Sometimes it's difficult after you see somebody for 2 months every day and night, but perhaps you had a little awakening and realized that as long as you're serving that other person, you're getting along with them very well. It's when you stop serving them that they become a pain in the ass. Okay. So thank you for listening. Now that's my introduction, my contribution to getting this started. So I'd like to ask you to comment from your own experience in regard to what I'm talking about. Please, feel free. Of course, ask a question if you feel you'd like to ask a question. Very shy, I see. Okay. Okay, Lynn Curtis. I'd like to hear you say something about this. Can you share with us, please?
About just Otomo?
Yeah, about this, what I've been talking about, yes. This business of service, serving others instead of taking, giving.
I think Otomo is Yeah, very, very broad, and goes much deeper than the duties as prescribed. And I think that's the gift of what Otomo is experiencing that and being able to um, live it, walk that talk with everybody, in and out of the dojo, you know, that's what I think.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think so too. I'm glad to hear you say that. Prakash Makai, could you speak up, please?
Yeah, and my time in Aikido, the times when I've been assigned Otomo have been to some very difficult individuals who were very challenging to me. And yet it humbled me in such a way to set aside my judgment and really see what it was that I had to learn from serving someone who I perceived as, not a very pleasant person.
I'm sorry. Well, I must have assigned you to someone. He assigned you, I don't know. Yeah, sometimes that happens, and that's usually a blessing. As you,
Right.
and so that's good to remember, because there isn't any guarantee. Even with a great man like Toi Sensei or Suzuki Sensei, even with a great teacher, take it from me, you can still get pissed off at them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because we are so selfish-minded, and so when I say I mean selfish. We're self-obsessed. We're self-oriented. We're not oriented to serve others. We're oriented to serve ourselves. So the process sometimes brings us up against a teacher that simply doesn't listen to our needs at that moment. That brings to mind when I was Otomo for Suzuki Sensei. I was in Los Angeles at a big seminar at Chin Sensei's dojo, and I was so happy to see everyone. I was training with all my friends, and pretty much Suzuki Sensei was out of my mind at the time. We were nearing the end of the class. So as the class finishes, I give my hakama to somebody with the idea that I've got to go help Suzuki Sensei change. But instead, someone comes up and says something to me, and my mind completely goes away. My awareness of serving Sensei is gone. And I'm talking, pretty soon there's 3 or 4 people, and we're having some nice conversation and laughing. And I turn around and look, and Suzuki Sensei is standing on the side of the mat, staring at me. "Are you coming, Mr. Curtis?" he says. I mean, this was crushed, my ego. Right? And then flash forward 20 years, and I have an Otomo that was with me in, this was like a beginning Otomo. This wasn't any of the people you know. And he was in Oregon with me, and Lynn and I are out waiting at the car. We've changed, we've gone out of the dojo, we put our shoes on, we've gotten to the car, and still we don't know where my Otomo is. and I wait and watch, and I go look in the dojo, and he's standing in the middle of the dojo, still talking to all these people, having a gay time. I mean, laughing, you know. And then I remembered that was me. So it was very difficult to be really upset with him, although he did hear from me about it. But yeah, we all learn these lessons. I'd like to ask Sally Worcester. I know you don't like to talk a lot, but I'd like to ask you to say something about this. Sally's one of the oldest members of our dojo. She's been around many, many years with us. She trains faithfully. She's a great student. And she's always very quiet, but always helping, always useful. So now you need to say something, Sally.
Thank you, Sensei. Well, I'm quiet because words are hard for me, Sensei. I just noticed that when I'm assigned a Otomo to somebody, it's definitely a lesson in awareness and being concerned with the whole picture, but it's very easy to slip into, what do I need? What's going on with me? And it becomes, quote, stressful. And when that happens, if I can, luckily I've had friends kind of wake me up and I realize, oh yeah, this is about giving. And if I can relax and just be present with the person, then I can feel that circle where giving and receiving is the same. But you have to allow it to flow. You mentioned to that sometimes. And if you refuse help, you're stopping the flow. And if you can't give the help if the flow is stopped from somebody else. And I have noticed that.
Right. Okay. So thank you. That's another aspect of this that's very important, this ability to allow yourself to receive. It sounds like, well, that must be easy because we're all selfish. But we're also neurotic.
Yes.
In such a way that we are not always able to be served by another. We're so bound up with the idea of service that we can. That's possible. We can become in a way, so it's very difficult to be served. I think that I told you I was writing one of the stories in the book that I wrote about Otomo. Suzuki Sensei, I was always traveling with him, often traveling with him. And we were often in these Japanese train stations. And this was many, many years ago when there weren't wheels on suitcases. And there was no writing except kanji in the entire train station. Not where you buy the tickets, not where you buy food, and certainly not directions to go to what platform. It's all kanji. It was. Now there's little signs look like an airplane that tell you where to go to get to the airport. And there's romaji, so it's written, so you can see. But in those days it wasn't. And Suzuki Sensei, he could read kanji. But he would often pretend that he couldn't read. And we would be in the airport. I mean, in the well, not in the airport, because the airport there was writing there. But in the train station, it's very old-fashioned. They didn't used to have that. And he would stride away from me, saying, "Just read the sign, and away we go." And I was always very frustrated by him. But I realized later that he was really preparing me to learn to prepare, so that next time we were there, although it took a few times before this happened, I knew exactly what platform to go, what it costs, where to get the ticket, what to do ahead of time, because I did the research so that I knew what was going on for him. So sometimes there's practical form things that you have to do, but it's not the point. The point is not just the practical form. The point is feeling to do it. The point is noticing. The point is awareness. All of this training, we talk about serving other people. And, you know, it's not like they need to be served even. That's not what you're doing. You're not helping other people. You're not saving anyone. You are being true to your nature when you serve others. So if you serve others truly, you'll never expect a reward. You will never expect appreciation for that. Even though the sensei is often showering appreciation on you because he knows your ego needs it. So he's always giving a lot to you. If the sensei is doing that to you, you better look out. Okay? So anyway, this is a very, as Lynn said, it's a very deep subject. That word, I use that word a lot, deep, I realize that. But what I mean by that, there's so much behind it. We're never doing what we think we're doing on the surface, or we look like we're doing. We may be assigned to do something, but there's something much deeper that we're fulfilling if we're being true. There's something much deeper that we're serving when we serve another person. Are we just serving a person? Or is there something else happening? And if there's something else happening, what is that something else? See, if you want to understand the teaching of Aikido, I mean, normally we don't have these kind of classes. We've had 2 months now where we've all had an opportunity to study the meaning behind what we're doing in Aikido in a way that we often don't get much opportunity to do. There's a lot to do in an Aikido class, and there's a lot of different Aikido classes to practice, and they're all fun, so let's do them. But if you don't have an opportunity like this to discover what your training really means to you, then you have to take the time on your own to discover it. Okay, can someone else please say something? Charles Boyer?
Good evening, Sensei.
Oh.
Carlos from Lokahi. While you're talking, I mean, I certainly have a lot of experiences over the years. And while you're talking, I'm, okay, what can I discover here right now about serving? You know, and so what comes up for me, okay, so I want to share experiences, but this is all past history and so forth. So what I want to discover, what I'm, you know, contemplating as you're speaking about this, is like my relationship with my wife and with my family, and how I can be more present and more serving in that sense, because I'm here, I'm spending all this time with Celine, and she has no trouble serving me. But yeah, it doesn't, it's like I sometimes, catch myself
Yeah.
just taking that for granted.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I remember being Otomo for Suzuki Sensei at a seminar in San Francisco. There were like 150 people. It was a huge seminar. This is, 35 years ago when there used to be that many people training. And I remember when he came out to lead the first class, sitting down and being done with Otomo. Oh, okay. I was so relieved that he was going to handle it and I didn't have to do anything. So this is like this is very ignorant. So I'm amazed that Suzuki Sensei, with me pulling stunts like that, still he asked me again and again to serve as Otomo. He had such faith in me, so I have to be very grateful that he did. So this kind of trouble I don't have with you. You're very good at this.
Are you lavishing praise on me, Sensei? Are you feeding my ego now, Sensei?
Only if you need it. It's true. I'm very grateful. Okay, so I'm getting a chat note here that Rene Relacion has his hand raised. Rene, would you like to say something?
Yes, I'd say good evening.
Good evening.
It's been very humbling, very revealing with this Otomo sense of giving when you're with family and friends. It's very revealing and very, very humbling, because what I noticed more acutely is that I'm not really serving. I'm there are a lot of things in the way, and that's me. Things that I expect, or things that I believe the other person should know already. I noticed I'm not giving. I'm not, often I've noticed I'm not even facing the person. I'm already in my own, I have my own agenda. And so these little things have humbled me. And so I believe there's something very juicy in the practice there, that if I'm aware of those things, then that they're teaching me something. They are teaching me something about me and about how much I color things. And now, in light of all of this in your teachings, I'm grateful for those practices. And the practice is even deeper, and there's more to do, a lot more to do for me.
That's wonderful. That's a great a bit of noticing there. And since you have this awareness and you do notice, the change will take place automatically. You don't really have to change. You don't have to do something about our selfishness. Selfishness is like darkness. I always think of it like darkness, because light, you don't have to just turn the light on. You don't have to chase darkness away. It doesn't do any good to try to do that. So it's exactly the same as that. We cannot, to criticize ourselves for being selfish, to begin with, is selfish. That's a selfish thought from the selfish part of ourselves, criticizing the selfish part of ourselves. It's crazy, okay? So no, instead of feeding that, feeling sorry for yourself is the kind of thing, self-pity. No, instead of that, we just notice, and automatically you'll be facing that person next time. Automatically, you'll be listening in a way that you didn't listen before. This is just great. This means your training is bubbling. Okay. I'm very happy about that. Okay, someone else, please. Oh boy, I have to call on people today. Okay, here I come. I'd like to ask someone in Germany, Thomas Ziegler. Could you stop this, please?
Hi, Sensei. So when I think about Otomo, despite that I had no situation like Carlos Sensei had, for example, being an Otomo for you, but Otomo also, I think for me, is in this pandemic situation we have now, that you have to support your sensei or others, that that you are present in the online training or whatever training you have now in the situation, so that you are present and help that the group and the training can go on. This is an aspect I see for me in this situation.
Okay, and what about your family?
Yes, I have the same, I think, because as mentioned before, so it seems for me that somehow men have more difficulties than women do for some reason. Yeah. Yeah, I have the same problem, that I often feel selfish, more selfish than my wife, for example. Yeah. So what does it mean in a family context or in a business context? What does that mean? Yeah, often I feel also humble that I didn't see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to mention there what you mentioned. I think we all know that women generally seem to be closer to this idea of service than men do. They bear the children. They may not be the only child rearer in the family. Well, men and women raise children at different times, different ages. They have different functions, but they're much, much better at it in terms of serving the children's needs, I think, than the men. I think that's just a way that women are. Women seem to be serving, sort of automatically understanding this. Now, of course, that's not all women, and I don't mean to exclude men from this, because there's a lot of men that understand this and are and can be true to their original condition. And when you're serving, you're always true. That's true when you're serving another. So there's a lot of men that know that. I don't mean to say, women have a corner on it, but in my life, and I think everybody would agree, correct me if I'm wrong, that women seem to have a natural affinity. And I think it has to do with their empathy. For men, empathy is a difficult part of themselves to open up to. Men don't like to be vulnerable. They don't like to be raw. And when you have empathy, you make yourself vulnerable by feeling, allowing yourself to feel empathy. And I think that's much easier for women than for men. But this whole business of Otomo is a way for all of us, not just the formal Otomos, but for all of us to become aware of and more sensitive to our feelings about each other. You understand what I mean by feelings? Like when we begin a seminar with Shinichi Sensei and we shake hands with our partner. There is a feeling of connection. And when I do it, when I see a person standing over there who's going to attack me, there is a feeling of connection. So I didn't used to have this feeling. This feeling didn't used to happen to me. When I saw somebody ready to attack, I was ready to take them down. I was excited and looking forward to moving, but it was almost a competitive feeling. But when you get more empathetic, you become more sensitive to more empathy. Somehow that's more connected. So it's very important, part of our being together. I mean, you can say, well, of course, loving each other is the key. That's what matters to all of us all the time. That's what everything is all about. But, you know, understanding on a very, very personal and deep level what loving someone means, that can be a conundrum. That can be a challenge. So I think I mentioned one time that I was on an airplane with Suzuki Sensei and me and Lynn, and I saw that I was watching his drink going down so I would remember to get him the new drink and be the good Otomo that I wanted to be. And I suddenly looked over and he had his new drink. And I said, Sensei, how'd you get your drink? And he said, oh, Lynn gave it to me. And I think I blurted out something like, but I'm your Otomo. And yeah, you're just trying to be a good Otomo. She loves me, okay? So she's taking care of me. And so that was a big awakening for me. So you have to care. It's not about functioning properly. It's not about doing the right thing. That's not Otomo at all. You have to care deeply. Otherwise, why are you doing it? That's what I ask. Okay, thank you very much. Our time is up, and I'll see you on Sunday. Aloha. Goodbye. Tomo arigatou gozaimasu.